So, welcome to London Heathrow in X-Plane 11 public beta. It's officially not supported yet. What I did is I copy-pasted my entire custom sceneries folder from X-Plane 10 into the X-Plane 11 beta root folder. And tada, it works. I can safely say that most of the add-on scenery will work. We do have some issues with planes sinking in the ground down here. Oh no, that was just it just looked like that, but actually, no, it's working. That's really nice. This beauty over here is the IXEG 737-3-400 Classic. And a lot of people have reported bugs using this one in X-Plane 11, so I decided to try it myself and installed it. Some people say you just have to copy paste the X Aviation folder from X-Plane 10 into X-Plane 11. Tried that, didn't work. Used the V100 installer, installed the plane, and well, let's see how it goes right now. We're just gonna start up the plane, maybe do a takeoff, not an entire flight. It's just to check whether the systems work and we can start it up from cold and dark to normal operating. So let's see how far we get. Let's connect the ground power unit first. That's set. Get into the cockpit and let's start flip some switches. We start of course with the battery. Looks all very nice. Lights start to illuminate, sounds work, so that's pretty good. Emergency exit lights armed. And let's flick on the ground power switch. There we are. Well, everything looks okay now. What we will do first is a lights test and a ground proximity warning test to check whether the sounds and lights are all working. So let's do that simultaneously. Just flick this light switch to test and then press the ground proximity warning button. Then we'll check the lights. Of course, standard Boeing procedure, everything is in strips and we check it strip by strip as you will see. So let's go, lights test, ground proximity warning. Verify that all the lights are illuminated and the other sounds work. This is all okay. The strip lights are working. The ground proximity warning test is now finished. That was all alright. This is also looking good. So is this. All these lights are illuminated as they should. So are these. That's fine. Check the mode control panel. All lights are working. Recall fields, master caution lights, fire warning lights, they are all working as they should. Check the airco, or the airco. It's the oxygen mask, of course. That's working. Let's see. These lights are on. These are on. These are on. Testing the lights. That's all right. These work. These work. These work. Check. Check. Go to the first officer panel. Test. Successful. All lights are okay. Check the radios. That's all working fine. So lights test is completed. Let's check the fire alarms. They are working. Cargo. And that's working as well. So basically, first impression is that everything is okay and working as it should. So we continue with programming a flight. So first thing we do is align the IRS. Flick this to clicks to the right, so align nav. And also this one, align nav, goes from on DC and then to align, check, and here as well, check. So that's now working, takes approximately 8 minutes. In the meantime, we can tell the flight management computer where we are, because aligning is just basically the computer zeroing in on your position. So they know that that's the spot where you are, but they cannot tell you where that spot is because they haven't got a coordinate attached to it. So we're now in London Heathrow. Suppose I'd say we are in Bristol, for instance. then the plane would believe we are in Bristol. And if I were to fly to, let's say, Brookmans Park, I would get a entirely different course from the flight management computer and distance. So that's really going to screw up your navigation. We don't want that to happen, so we go to the POSINIT page, reference airport. We fill in the ICAO code. For Heathrow, that's Echo Golf Lima Lima. We get a airport coordinate. That's not what we want in here because it's not our exact position. So we go to the next page. There's the GPS coordinate. Press the line selector key to the left. It will move to the scratch pad. Go to the POSINIT page again. Right selector key behind set IRS POS. We'll copy the GPS coordinate in there. And now when the IRS is aligned, it will know that it is on this coordinate, and that's the coordinate of the plane. So we don't have an offset on the nav display. Go to route. EGLL is still in the scratch pad, so that's the origin. Well, as you saw just when I looked from the outside, we have a KLM livery. So let's say we are flying back to Amsterdam. I'm Dutch, as you might have already heard, so I can also talk with a very heavy Dutch accent. I will try not to, because that's quite annoying to listen to. Flight KLM 1002 today. Takeoff runway in Heathrow in use will be 27 left for us. Back to route. Press the departure arrival page. It's all still working for now. That's excellent. 27 left. Let's make a Brookmans Park 7 Golf departure. Go back to route. From Brookmans Park we fly direct to Clacton, that's on the British East Coast, and from Clacton we fly to Redfa, which is a nav point above the North Sea, and from Redfa we will fly the Redfa 1 Alpha arrival for runway 18 right in Amsterdam, so ILS 18 right on the Redfa 1 Alpha. Select that, go back to the route page, and there it is. That's set and done. I do want to go to the legs page, and at the legs page we will check for route discontinuities. So there are none here, none on page 2, none on page 3, and none on page 4. However, on page 3 we see Schiphol and then vectors. I don't like that because we don't want that. What we want to do is we will fly from Schiphol. We will alter the arrival route. We're not going to fly over Sierra Papa Lima. We will fly to a nav point called Echo Hotel 644, which is just after the Dutch coastline. From Echo Hotel 644 we will fly to PFOS, or Papa Echo Foxtrot Victor Oscar Sierra, so Papa Echo Victor Oscar Sierra, and from PFOS it is down south, down the ILS to Echo Hotel 621, which should be here. It is. We flick that over in there, and that will be our arrival route. At Echo Hotel 644 we have to be at or above 3000 feet at the speed of 220 knots, so 220 knots, 3000. You mustn't be much higher, because then you will get into problems intercepting the ILS, and we don't want that. So from Schiphol 10,000 feet down to Echo Hotel 644, speed 220 knots, 3000 feet, and then at Echo Hotel 621 intercept the ILS at 2000 feet. That's correct. Activate and execute. Check on the progress page. That cannot be done yet. We have to set on the weight and balance first, so go to the performance. Heathrow to Amsterdam is a fairly short flight. Let's say we fly at flight level 250 today. Zero fuel weight 37.39, that's okay, and fuel at 5.6, that is already on board. Well, it should be enough. So let's say, what was it again? 37.39er. 37.39er. Oh. Dial it in on the zero fuel weight. We want 2000 tons in reserve when we arrive in Amsterdam. Cost index for KLM is usually 30 in the 737 European operations. Flight level 250, so execute N1 limit. Well, the runways in Heathrow are of course long enough for the 737, so we can derate. Let's say the temperature is 37 degrees. This will derate the engines, meaning that the engines will not run at full power, reducing the wear and tear and increasing the lifespan of the engine. So that's a very economical decision. Back to takeoff, flaps 5, trim 3.4. Let's set that in. This is where you can read out the trim. It's now at 4, this is 3, so somewhere in the middle. There we are. Oh. So there we are. That's set and done. Let's dial in the V speeds, 117, 119 and 129. Go to the airspeed indicator, set the speed box. So that's 117, 119 and 129. That's this one. Then we have 149 as V2 plus 20. And with a gross weight of 43 tons, we will have a flaps up speed, according to my official KLM 737-300 checklist, of 192 knots. So let's set that to 192. Go to the airspeed indicator on the other side of the airplane. Dial in the same values, of course, 117, 119, 129, 149 is already set, and 192. So that's set and checked. Auto brakes can go to RTO. QNH 1016. Set and cross check, so that's correct. Let's move this one to the map. Display. I usually put both left and right on the map, and then the right one at a longer range. It's just personal preference, there's not really a logic behind it, but well, it's just how I tend to do things. If you do them differently, that's all right. Let's set up the MCP. V2 plus 20 was 149, so dial that in on the IAS Mac, 149er. Runway heading for Heathrow 27 is 272, so let's dial that in here. And our initial climb will be 6,000 feet. Flip on the flight directors. And basically, that's about it. We now have the airplane configured for the flight, so now we can move on to prepare it for the engine starts. We will run a checklist first. Just the preparation checks: gear pins stowed, circuit breakers checked, serviceability checked, IRS set to nav, flight control panel is set, transfer switch is normal, fuel system. We haven't done that yet, so let's move over to the flows here. Yaw dampers go on, fuel pumps go on, galley power can come on, passengers would like coffee. This is alright, this is set, passenger signs go on, window heats, they go on. Pitot heats will only be switched on after engine start, so we'll leave them for now. We don't need the anti-ice yet, so we leave that. Electric hydraulics also only flicked on after engine start, so that's okay. The cabin temperature goes to auto normal, that's fine then. Recirc fan is off, packs are off, that's checked. Let's set the pressurization. We will fly at flight level 250. We will land in Amsterdam at 0. And for 250 the cabin altitude is 3,400, so let's dial this down to 3 and this up to 400. This is the cabin pressurization system, by the way. You dial in your flight level in here, landing altitude in here, Here is a table. The bottom row gives you the flight level, so 25,000 feet is 25, and it gives you a cabin altitude of 3.4, so dial in 3,400 in here. Verify standby, verify ground, verify auto. That's alright now. Switch on the POS lights and the anti-collision lights, start the APU. A lot of people have reported bugs with the APU, so we're gonna see whether that works or not. If it works, the white needle will move to the left, just below 6, then down again to just below 5. When it's below 5, the blue light will illuminate and we can switch the APU to the buses. So let's see if that works. Hold it down at start for a couple of seconds. 3, 2, 1, let go. And we'll see if the needle will starting to rise. It does, so it looks like the APU is working as well. That's nice. 200. 300, 4, up to 5, just below 6, going down again, below 5, and the blue light, so that's working. We can now switch the APU to the buses. This means that now the aircraft's auxiliary power unit generates the electricity. It's located in the tail of the airplane. We'll switch that on. The ground power can now be disconnected. So that's done. With the APU running, we can use the bleed air from the APU to start up the main engine. So APU bleed on and set the isolation valve to open, which is now done. As we can see now, the IRS is aligned. APU is running. So we can use the pushback and the engine start. Let's see if they work. Set the starter to the left today. We will first start number 2, then number 1 engine. And we have to push back nose to the left, so ground. Oh no, oh wait. There's a much nicer way of doing that. You can press the ground call. You get the same menu, but hey. Nose to the left, pushback. It says release brakes to start. Brakes released. And when the plane is moving backwards, we will start engine number 2. We flick this switch to ground, so to the left. And then we will watch this needle to move up. Once the value in here is between 20 and 25, we can flick this switch up. I usually do it around 24, because by the time it's up, the value here is 25 and it will start immediately. That's 21. 23, 24, and up to idle. Just see if it continues to rise. When it's between, let's say 45, 50, usually around 47, the starter will cut out. It's already cut out, so start engine number 1, ground, same procedure. Look at the value between 20 and 25, flick on the number 1, switch. And these switches, they control the fuel flow to the engine. So when I switch this to idle, there is fuel flowing into the engine. 21, 22, 23, 24, and of course the fuel allows for the combustion, so that's quite an essential part. And everything looks fine. It works absolutely amazing. Start a cutout. So to both. Let's do the flow now. This is all set. We can now... Oh, let's put on the parking brake. Pushback is completed. The electricity is now being generated by the APU, but it can also be generated by the generators in the main engines. The main engines are now running, so let's switch them to the buses. This is all fine. Flick on the pitot. Electric hydraulics can go on. Recirc fan can go to auto, PEX can go to auto. Isolation valve goes also back to auto. APU bleed goes off. And now the APU is running, but it doesn't do anything, so we switch that off as well to save fuel. APU goes off. Set the flight ground switch to flight. Taxi lights can come on, runway turn off lights can come on. And basically that's the starting checklist. So ship's papers are on board, FMC is set, takeoff speed set, windows and doors closed and locked, fasten seatbelt signs are on, arm slide bars, well let's say that was announced, anti-collision light is on, air packs are now on before taxi, electric set, Python is on, anti-ice off, airco set, APU is off, recall is checked, start levers, idle detent, ground equipment is removed. So next step, flaps 5 for takeoff, 1, 2, 5, and a flight control check. Full left, full right, neutral, down, up, neutral, rudders, full left, full right, neutral. So flight control check is also completed. Let's release the parking brakes. We can now start taxiing. And we are moving. You can see the ground speed down here. The proper speed on the straight parts of the taxiway, that's about 14, that's 14 knots. If you have to take a corner, 90 degrees, just reduce the speed to below 10 or below. We are now taxiing, so taxi out checks, flaps 5 selected, flight controls checked, step trim 3.4 units set, MCP is set, nav system set, and let's say the crew briefing is completed. And we are now taxiing out. Sounds on the outside also work perfectly well. And as you can see, I use the right mouse button and the mouse to pan the view. You can do it on the joystick also, but that's much slower in X-Plane. I don't know why it is, but it is. Takes a little bit of practice and getting used to, but once you are used to it, you don't want anything else anymore. So that's probably quite nice. We are already in the vicinity of the runway. So we will switch on the strobe lights for now. Auto throttle can go to armed. And we verify that the transponder is on, which it is. I don't use the AI traffic in X-Plane. I think it's a waste of frame rates. It's not very real, so I'm not using the air traffic control also. So let's say we are cleared to line up on the runway. Flick on the landing lights. Well, basically, my conclusion is that the IXEG 737-300 is working fine in X-Plane 11 beta for now. But let's see if everything goes well when we take off. So let's go to the runway, line up and then do a takeoff. So there we are on runway 27 left. Line up and wait. Before takeoff checks, cabin is ready, take your seats. Well, we just announced it, just not in the fit. Flaps 5 green lights, engine start switches are set to continuous. Exterior lights, landing lights on, runway turn off, taxi lights on, strobe lights on, so that's set. Auto throttle is armed. Transponder is set, takeoff clearance is now received, so we will take off. If you are completely new, you just move the thrust levers forward, you check the engine power on these gauges. If they come up nice and even, you can press the N1. Auto throttle will then set takeoff thrust. You can focus on the speeds. 117 is V1, 119 is rotate, and we will try to climb out using 149 knots. So without further ado, brakes released and take off. It's nice and even. N1 takeoff power. Thrust sets. Airspeed is active. 80 knots. 100. V1, rotate. Positive rate, gear up. And we're flying. And it looks all just as X-Plane 10 basically. Let's switch off the auto brakes and put the gear lever in the off position. And we have to do some more things, so we now engage the autopilot, LNAV, VNAV. They seem to work fine as well, so that's okay. We have a very quiet departure, quiet weather, no sharp turns, so let's release the passengers. Fasten seatbelt signs go back to auto. Runway turn off, taxi lights go off. Engine start is to flight mode. Dial the heading up. Flaps up. And well, basically here we are flying in the IXEG 737-300 in X-Plane 11 Beta over London. Let's just see how the outside looks. Well, there's the airport. And well, the scenery looks nice too. By the way, this is the photo reel scenery freeware from zonephoto.x-plane.fr. It's completely free. It will only cost you, well, a lot of storage room on your hard disk. It's a lot of gigabytes, but it's amazing. Really amazing. Looks absolutely fabulous. The only thing I don't really like in X-Plane 11 Beta for now is the haze. We had the Terra haze in X-Plane 10 where you could set a lot of things yourself. But in X-Plane they have integrated that in the simulator, and I personally think they overdone it because it's now very hard to see the scenery. So that's a bit of a downside. It's still in beta. I hope that the developers will look into that. But the purpose of this video was to check if the IXEG 737 was working. I say it does. So that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching and bye bye.